What's for dinner? That is a question we all ask ourselves every single day. Well, I have 11 answers for you. 11 dinner recipes, most of them easy, some of them take time, all of them are delicious. Here we go. So I'm going to show you how to make these baked cheesy cabbage rolls with a corn pudding on the side. So I'm going to show you the cabbage rolls first, and I'm just chopping some fresh parsley because that's going to go into my ground beef mixture. This is 1 pound of lean ground beef. I'm adding around 3 tablespoons of fresh parsley and 1 tablespoon of dehydrated minced onion, some Worcestershire sauce. Here I'm adding some salt, and I'm also going to add a half cup of long grain rice. This is raw that I rinsed, some garlic powder, you could add fresh, and I'm going to add some paprika, probably like a teaspoon is what I added, but you can start with a half teaspoon. Now some cracked black pepper. I'm going to add 1 large egg. This is just going to help bind the mixture when you place it into your cabbage. And with clean hands, I'm going to combine well. And it also helps if you're working with a large bowl because you are going to mix this. So I just want to reiterate for those of you that maybe are skipping around this video to get to the recipe. I stated in the beginning that I do know that this is not a traditional way to make cabbage rolls. Well, essentially it kind of is, but I will be adding cheese on top, and I know that is not a traditional ingredient. There's so many ways to make this, but I really wanted to try the cheese combination with this. Okay, so this is combined well. I'm gonna set it aside. And it's time to work on the cabbage. So this is kind of like a cabbage roll hack. Add the entire head of cabbage in your freezer overnight, and by the next day, you can just peel off the leaves, but I'm boiling them today because I didn't put it in the freezer last night. So first you'll want to rinse it and then remove the core. This is going to allow the cabbage leaves to sort of peel off like petals. It makes your work a lot easier. So just carefully remove the core. I know I look like any moment this cabbage is just gonna roll out of my hands, but I promise you, it's not. I'm just working my little paring knife. And now just kind of pull that out. And it's prepped. So going into my boiling water, you wanna make sure you have a pot of boiling water, and it's just going to take, I don't even think a minute before the cabbage leaves start to peel off. And as soon as they start to loosen up and kind of float away or just fall off of the head of cabbage, then what I like to do is kind of let each leaf kind of dunk for an extra maybe 5 to 10 seconds and then just remove it. So I'm sort of just moving the head of cabbage around, and here we go. First cabbage leaf easily removes itself. Dunk it in the boiling water and just let the water kind of drain and drip, and I'm going to place it in my bowl right here on the side. And essentially you're just going to keep doing this until you get about 20 cabbage leaves or the whole head of cabbage. Now you'll want to remove this fibrous rib from the cabbage leaf. This is just going to make your life easier when you go to roll it, and you just sort of do this triangle shape and cut it out. Just like this. And that will not fold easily, so that's why you want to remove it. So you're going to end up with your cabbage leaf like this, and just repeat the process for all of your leaves. And like I said, you want to make sure for this recipe, you at least minimum have 16 cabbage leaves that are good to roll. If not, just, you know, the whole head of cabbage, at least 20 works. So now I'm just going to scoop on like 2 heaping tablespoons of my ground beef mixture. And I know you'll want to be tempted to just add tons of ground beef, but I promise you, if you add too much, it'll just be so hard to secure and roll. So I say maybe somewhere between 2 to 3 tablespoons. And you'll notice I'm rolling this kind of wonky. For some reason, that first cabbage roll, I just can't remember how to roll it, but I'm going to show you. I progressively get better at this. It took about 3 rolls for me to remember, but there, that's rolled. And for the second one, I started realizing, okay, let's try to roll this like a burrito. So the sides, and then you roll over, well, almost. So you put the seam together on that split side, pull it back, just like you're folding or wrapping a burrito. The sides go in and then you finish out the roll, and there's that. I know that looks so complicated, but I promise. Look, this one, it gets a lot easier. So I realized you put the split part towards you, and then you add your ground beef mixture. Try not to overstuff or fill that. And then you kind of lap over the split part, fold over the sides, and then you roll. And you kind of get into the groove of things. And you put it seam side down in your baking dish, by the way. So just repeat the process for all of your rolls. And you see how easy I kind of like got really good at this. By the way, I love making cabbage rolls, especially around the holidays. Okay, so that goes into my baking dish. I'm working with a 9x13, and I ended up getting 16 cabbage rolls with the entirety of that ground beef mixture. So pretty good. Now I'm going to make the tomato sauce mixture. I'm going with a 14.5 ounce can of beef broth. I love the Swanson's brand, and 8 ounces of tomato sauce. This is a really easy sauce. Now I'm going to add a splash of red wine vinegar, maybe like a teaspoon and a half, and a tablespoon of light brown sugar. I'm going to shake in maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. I kind of eyeballed this. And I'm going to go in with some paprika, some cracked black pepper, and I'm going to give it a mix. And you'll want to taste this for salt or seasoning. The Swanson's canned beef broth kind of comes salted, so I'm not adding extra salt, but taste it. Now just pour this all over your cabbage rolls. And after you do that, it's time for the non-traditional part. I'm going to be adding 8 ounces of low moisture mozzarella cheese that I shredded, and just add it all over the top. So after I cover this with cheese, I'm going to tightly cover it with aluminum foil and bake in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 55 minutes to an hour. And I'm going to remove the foil around the last 20 minutes of bake time. Now for the Jiffy corn pudding. 1 box of Jiffy mix goes into a bowl. And I'm going to whisk this to break up the lumps. It's kind of lumpy. Now I'm going to add 2 large eggs. You might want to crack these on the side in a bowl, but you know, sometimes I like to live on the edge. I'm adding a can of cream-style corn. That's going in. I'm also adding 1 stick of butter that I melted. That is a 1/2 cup or 113 grams of butter melted. 8 ounces of sour cream. And I'm just going to scrape that out of the container. And I'm going to combine and whisk this well. So I shredded an 8 ounce block of cheddar cheese, but I'm probably only going to use about 6 ounces of that. So 4 ounces goes into the mix with 1 large jalapeno that I chopped up, but I left some slices for the top to garnish. So some of it's going in and some of it's going on the top. And you can add 2 jalapenos if you want. I went with 1. So just fold that in, give it a mix. And this literally, I love this side dish. This could be a meal, a side dish. I love it. Now in a buttered baking dish, I'm going to add all of my batter. And truly, this is one of my favorite types of side dishes. Now I know in the original video I said that that person made these cheesy cabbage rolls and added cornbread on the side, but I just like making Jiffy corn pudding casserole. It's my favorite. So I'm just gonna scrape the entire bowl, get as much out as possible. And then I'm just going to evenly spread that in the baking dish. By the way, I'm working with a buttered baking dish. I use like a 1.5 tablespoons of softened butter to kind of spread that around. And now just a little bit more of that shredded cheese on top. Use the cheese that you like. I love sharp cheddar in this. Sometimes I use Colby Jack if that's all I have. And I'm going to save the rest of that shredded cheese, by the way. And just top with the rest of those sliced jalapenos. And if you don't want to add jalapenos, then don't. That is optional. Or if you want a milder chili, use like mild green hatch chilies, like the canned kind. You can add that. I do that sometimes. But today, I just want the contrast of the comforting cheesy cabbage roll with something that has a little bit of kick, that's rich and just comforting. So good. Okay, so this is also going to go into my preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And all of this is going to take maybe like 50 minutes to an hour. It just depends. But we're at 55 minutes. I'm taking this out. It's done. And it smells amazing. Just, oh, look at this. This is going to be so good for dinner. Smells good, right? Be careful. Don't tilt it. Oh my God, it's perfect. Okay, oh, it smells so good. Let's see. This alone is just so good. I could eat this as a meal. And this combo, I mean, this is comfort food, like a comfort food combination that you should try. It's so good. Okay, cabbage roll. It has cooked through perfectly. Comforting one pot meal. Here we go. I am working with 1 pound of small pasta shells. You could also do this with elbow macaroni. It doesn't have to be shells. I'm also using 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef, 1 can of rotel. I'm going to drain that. I'm also using some mild cheddar cheese and some taco seasoning mix. I'll also add some heavy cream into the mix, water, and other seasonings. So first my son is going to help me shred the cheese, and I am going to start by cooking the ground beef. So you can season this with light chili powder, paprika, ground cumin, salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder, but I'm just going to add taco seasoning mix. I'm making my life easy today. This is just going to be an easy 1-pot meal. And I'm also going to add an additional, like 2 teaspoons of chicken bouillon powder. I'll say that's optional. At some point you could just add salt to taste towards the end. So now I'm just going to combine that with the cooked ground beef. Now I'm adding my pasta shells, the entire bag, and I'm just going to combine this. I'm not really going to toast the pasta shells. I just want this to combine with the cooked ground beef. Now I'm adding my drained can of rotel. This is just diced tomatoes and green chilies. They even have spicier versions of this. I went with mild. And I'm going to combine this. Now I'm going to add 4.5 cups of water. Here I needed to add the extra half cup. I'm just going to give this a mix. And essentially This is all going to cook in this one pot. I'm not going to boil water and cook the pasta shells separately. I'm really being kind of like lazy, but you know, this is good. This is a great, convenient one-pot meal. Okay, cover with a lid, and you'll want to bring that up to a rapid simmer or like a boil, and then turn the heat down once it starts to boil and cook. So the cheese is shredded, and this is the heavy cream that I'll be using. Like a cup and a half goes into this with 8 ounces of cheese. And now I'm going to carefully remove the lid. And this has simmered and boiled for about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to put it way low. I still want it to kind of have a gentle simmer. And I still want some of that liquid to remain in the pot. I don't want to boil it until it's dry because it's going to continue cooking and you need a little bit of that pasta water. Okay, so here I'm just going to carefully add my shredded mild cheddar cheese. You could really use any type of cheese that you like. Pepper jack is also great in this. If you really want that Velveeta macaroni shells to this dish, add like maybe 4 ounces of Velveeta cheese into the mix. That really makes it extra creamy. Okay, so now I'm going to add my cup to a cup and a half of heavy cream. And then I'm just going to combine, remember this is still simmering, and just let that melt and combine into the cooked beef and shells. By the way, be sure to check the description below and follow me on my other social media handles. I put a link for you to follow me on Facebook, on my new Facebook page. Okay, so this is what I'm working with. We're ready to eat, and it's so good. Today, I'm going to show you the easiest, laziest chicken pot pie you'll ever make. This is going to be good. So here's what I'm working with. I have 1 can of jumbo biscuits. These are flaky biscuits, 8 in a can. I have a 10 to 12 ounce bag of mixed vegetables. Here I have a 22 ounce can of cream of chicken. I'm going to be adding some milk, and I have a rotisserie chicken. This is where the lazy, quick, and easy comes in. Let's put it together. So first you'll want to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Put the light on here, and don't forget to remove your pans from the oven. Let's do that. By the way, this video was requested by my younger cousin who moved away from home and wants to make something quick and easy in his apartment. I have my husband on the rotisserie chicken here, and now I'm just going to start opening and prepping everything to just put it together in one pan. By the way, cousin, you don't even have to cook this on the stove. It's kind of like just dump it into a baking dish and bake. It's really easy. Okay, so I'm going in with my 22 ounce can of cream of chicken going in. I also want to mention, for those of you at home that want to season and add spices or seasonings, please, by all means, do that. I just wanted to show the bare minimum, bare effort recipe for chicken pot pie. Fall is here. Of course, it's not super cold here in Texas, but it's got me dreaming of, you know, fall vibes and baking. Okay, so at this point, you'll want to fill your can with milk. I only had a little bit of half and half. I'm going to mix this up, and the rest, I'm just going to add water. But ultimately, whole milk works. Fill the can, dump it in the pan. And then you'll want to just combine and mix everything until it's creamy and smooth. So while I'm mixing this, I wanted to mention I also have a homemade from scratch version of my chicken pot pie or chicken and biscuits. I will link that in this video or in the description below. It's so good if you want to put in the effort and time. Okay, so once this is combined and creamy, you'll want to start adding your chicken. So the rotisserie chicken, I like to chop it into morsels. You can definitely shred it. It really is up to you. I just like to have chunks of chicken throughout this chicken pot pie, so I'm gonna chop it. So while I'm chopping this, I'd like to mention this recipe, you can pretty much find this recipe like on the Campbell's Soup website. This is pretty much the go-to recipe that you see people make all the time when they want a quick and easy chicken pot pie. Okay, so now I'm ready to start adding and dumping all of the ingredients together. I'm starting with the chicken. And I also want to mention, It does help if your mixed vegetables are sort of thawed. They can be kind of cold, but if they're completely frozen, that is going to change the cook time and you might end up with raw biscuit dough. So it does help to thaw them a bit. So I'm going to give this a really good mix. And like I said, for my people that like to be really creative or have seasonings and spices, because I can assure you, my cousin just moved into his apartment. He probably only has salt and pepper. So that's what I'm going to add. I'm just going to add some pepper, a tiny pinch of salt. The Campbell soup is really salty. The small amount of salt that I'm going to add is just for those frozen veggies. So I'm just going to give it a pinch there, maybe like a quarter teaspoon, give it a mix, and that is it. That is the simplest, no effort method I use. Okay, so everything is combined, creamy, mixed well. So now it's time to top it with your flaky biscuits. Okay, so the trick here is you have 8 jumbo biscuits, and I'm going to carefully open this. I really hate this part. So I'm going to take each biscuit and divide it into 2. And the flaky biscuits are the biscuits that kind of separate a lot easier because they're kind of in layers as opposed to just the regular fluffy biscuits. So I'm going to put per row 2 biscuits that I've separated in half. So it's basically 4 on each row. This is what it looks like close up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 biscuits per row that are split in half. Okay, my oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going in for like 35 to 40 minutes or until the dough is cooked. In the meantime, I'm just going to clean up my mess. Clean as you go, cousin. That really helps, especially in a small space. I have a pretty big kitchen, but if you're working with the tiny one, you got to clean it up. Don't wait till later. Okay, so it has been 40 minutes. This is done. And it has completely cooked through. And if you do find that once the 35 to 40 minutes are up and the dough is still sort of raw underneath, let it go for an extra 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, if you're working with completely frozen veggies, it's going to throw off the cook time and it's going to take a little bit longer to cook that dough. Okay, so at this point, you'll want to bring it out so it'll cool for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Just let it set up until you serve, and that's it. This is the easiest, no effort, laziest chicken pot pie you probably could make. Everybody knows this recipe. Everyone's probably tried it, and it's so good. And it's perfect for my beginner cooks that just want to make a homemade meal. You want to skip out on eating out and make something that'll serve at least 4 people. You might have leftovers. By the way, leftovers are great the next day with this. But check this out. 2 scoops per plate. This meal goes a long way. Definitely feeds a family of 4. Serve a side salad and you're good to go. So to my cousin, happy moving into your apartment. Happy trying to make this meal. Okay, so I'm going to go into the grocery store and I'm going to show you one of my favorite like dinners or meals under 10 minutes, other than like something like ramen. But this is one of my favorites. And does it qualify as a salad Saturday meal? Maybe. I don't know. I'm probably going to post this on Saturday. Here we go. By the way, I just got my card and I just realized I walked out of the house in house shoes. I knew something was off. Oh, jeez. Okay. So first things first, and this is the best part about this recipe, is I'm picking up rotisserie chicken. You definitely can make your own chicken. This makes things a lot easier. I'm also going to pick up some romaine hearts. You can use iceberg lettuce or any salad mix you prefer. And I like Caesar dressing from the store. That's easy. By the way, I've recently posted a recipe video recreating the H-E-B Bakery soft butter flour tortillas. I'm actually picking up the regular ones today because they are so good. I'm probably going to make breakfast tacos using these later. For the bread, I love fresh pan bolillo. That is a Mexican style French bread roll. So I'm going to pick up maybe 9. That'll do. So first things first, I'm going to prep everything. So I like to add thin slices of red onion. That's optional. The chicken, the romaine lettuce, and the Caesar dressing is all you need for this. So I'm going to remove the skin from the chicken and just chop it up. I will do this for the chicken breast and the dark meat. By the way, if you are already subscribed, be sure to check that bell notification so you can get all of my latest videos. If you are new here, welcome to my channel, Simply Mama Cooks. I'm Angelica. So this chicken Caesar salad sandwich is something I do quite often when I mix salads. I love to put it in a crusty French bread roll. I like to wet my pan bolillo here, even though it's fresh. I like to wet it and put it in the air fryer for around 3 to 5 minutes. It just depends, until it gets crusty on the exterior and soft and warm in the center. So while that's in the air fryer, I'm going to dress the salad and combine well. You can actually use any type of dressing that you prefer with this. It's so simple and easy, and it's such a great way to get your salad fix and a sandwich all in one. Here I'm going to add some Parmesan cheese. This is grated Parmesan cheese. That's optional. Sometimes I also like to add crushed red pepper flakes to add spice to it. You can definitely dress your salad the way you prefer and add extra fresh ingredients. It's definitely up to you. And my rolls should be done, and I want you to hear how toasty the exterior is. And I'm also going to show you how crunchy it is. That sound is my favorite part. Here it is again. Okay, so after I got my crunch ASMR out of the way, I'm going to prep these sandwiches. I'm just going to slice it. You can actually slice this down the center on the top. I'm going to go for the side. And I don't know what to call this. I do this all the time with salads. I'm just going to call it a chicken Caesar salad, chicken Caesar salad torta. I'm not sure. But whatever you call it, I just hope you give it a try because it's so good. So I'm just going to fill this with my dressed and prepped salad. So like I stated earlier, I do this with all types of salads. And if you want to see some other variations, let me know in the comment section below. I will definitely show you. I always try to use things that are sort of prepped and ready. That's the whole point of making these. I just want something quick. So this is done and I'm taking a bite. ASMR, here we go. So good. So I'm going to make one for my son, and this is the way he likes it. I add the salad into the crusty bread, and I like to kind of mash it in there. I'm also going to add some extra grated Parmesan cheese on top just to garnish. I'm going to add some cracked black pepper, and this is ready. Today I'm going to show you how I make this easy, delicious oven-baked barbecue chicken. By the way, if you go over to my Facebook page, Simply Mama Cooks, it's still hacked and I did not upload this video, so don't interact with it. To start, I'll be working with 7 to 8 leg quarters. This is bone-in. I'll also be using 4 fresh lemons, the juice, and I'm going to create my own rub, starting with smoked paprika, Montreal chicken seasoning. I'm also going to add granulated garlic powder and granulated onion powder. Use the seasonings and rubs you prefer. I'm just eyeballing things today. So I'm going to give that a good mix, and this is what I will be seasoning the chicken with. And like I stated in the beginning of the video, if you see this video posted on Facebook, it's not me. That page is hacked. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze my fresh lemons over my chicken legs or the leg quarters. And now I'm going to divide my seasoning blend in both of these bags. I'm also going to add some Maggi seasoning. This is the closest thing I could describe it to as soy sauce. Here I'm also going to add some liquid smoke. This is going to help along with that smoked paprika I added to give it that barbecue smoky flavor. So now I'm just going to enclose the leg quarters into the bag, give it a shake, and mix it up. And make sure that everything is seasoned and mixed. And what I'm going to do is marinate this for at least 4 to 5 hours overnight for best results. By the way, what you're not going to do is go to my Facebook page that is hacked and interact if you see this video or any other video. I'm still trying to sort it out. I will link the video that I posted recently that kind of explains what I'm going through right now. I just want to forewarn you not to interact with that page. Hopefully I can get it back, but we shall see. So my thighs are coated in the bag, so it's time to put them in the fridge to marinate overnight, or like I said, 4 to 5 hours. So these have marinated. I'm only going to bake 5 today. The other ones I put in the freezer, but I'm just going to add some more Montreal chicken seasoning over the top. Honestly, I'm just eyeballing things today because I have to make this meal. So after you add the extra seasoning on top, leave it on the counter. And you want to let the chill remove from the chicken because it's cold. It will affect the cook time. Here I have some more onion powder and just sprinkle the top of the chicken where the skin is at with extra seasoning and how you like. So what I'm going to do is let this sit here, and at room temperature, just let it remove the chill by setting out on the counter. In the meantime, I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. 400 degrees Fahrenheit on my oven works. You could do 375, but I'm going to put these in the oven. And I'm going to set the timer for 45 minutes to bake. The chill has been removed from the chicken, so it's not going in super cold. The cook time will vary. I'm going to be glazing these with store-bought barbecue sauce, my favorite. Use what you like. So it's been 45 minutes, and the chicken is still not where I need it to be, but at 45 minutes, I'm removing it from the oven, and I'm just going to add the barbecue sauce on top. Now I'm just going to brush over the barbecue sauce all over the chicken, and use as much as you like. And if you have a good homemade recipe, use that as well. So this is going back into my oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for another 20 minutes. Here I'm cooking bacon. I have 12 ounces of bacon in the pan. I'm going to add like a half cup of water or so, maybe a little more. And using this method renders out a lot of bacon fat, which I'm going to use to cook Brussels sprouts. Here I have 1 3/4 pounds of fresh Brussels sprouts that have been cut in half, and I'm going to add them to my cooked bacon. The bacon is cooked and the fat is rendered, but it's just not that crispy bacon because I'm going to finish this in the oven. So I'm just going to toss this in all of that bacon and rendered fat. As you can see, all of that water evaporated and I'm left with a lot of rendered fat. So I'm going to sprinkle with just a little bit of salt. I'm going to shut off the heat, and before I forget, I'm going to add some salt-free lemon pepper. That's optional. And I'm going to give this a mix, and it is right about the time that my chicken is done. So I'm going to remove that from the oven, and this chicken smells and looks amazing, by the way, and it really isn't that hard to make. So I'm going to let this hang out and rest, but in the meantime, I'm going to add my Brussels sprouts right into the oven. Let's put that in there. I'm going to set the temperature to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. My oven just sort of is not consistent, so 425 works, but you could still keep it at 400. I'm going to set it for 25 minutes, stir, and then let it cook until it's done and tender. So while my chicken thighs or leg quarters are resting, I'm going to make an easy rice. This is pretty much a simple rice. I have preheated oil, 1 cup of long grain rice. I'm going to toast the rice over a medium-low heat until everything is toasty and fragrant. It'll be sort of like a light golden color. And this is what I call just chicken broth rice or chicken rice. Here I have a couple slices of fresh onion, a couple cloves of fresh garlic, and I just mashed them. You could mince them. I'm going to give that a mix. Now I'm going to add a 14.5-ounce can of chicken broth right into the pan. Give it a quick mix. I also like to check for grains of rice on the side of the pan. One time I had a rice video and I left rice on the side, and the comment section was like, the grains of rice. Okay, so now I'm going to cover with a lid, and once it starts to simmer, lower the heat and let it cook for about 15 to 18 minutes, and do not lift the lid. After about 15 to 18 minutes, shut off the heat, keep the lid on, and I'm just going to set it to the back burner. And you want it to, with the lid on, let it set for about 10 minutes. And here I'm just cooking some fresh corn. I had 2 ears of fresh corn. I'm sauteing it in butter. That's easy. And my Brussels sprouts are done. I stirred them at around 25 minutes, and then let them go until they were tender and golden brown. And this is what I ended up with. Super good. The bacon really helps to make everything smell so good in my kitchen. So I'm just going to give that a mix and season how you like. So my rice has set for 10 to 15 minutes and it's done. And this is just an easy way to make chicken rice. You can season with extra seasonings. I didn't even add salt. I think the rice by itself without salt and the other ingredients that I cooked will balance each other. So this is what the plate looks like, and this meal is ready. So many things you could serve with oven-baked barbecue chicken. This is what I have today, and it's so good. Today, I'm going to show you how I make chicken and broccoli stir-fry. This is perfect for lunch, dinner, or even meal prep. Here we go. Okay, so I am going to prep my chicken for this chicken and broccoli stir-fry. I have 2 pounds of chicken breast. I'm going to be adding some Shaoxing cooking wine, and for those of you asking for a substitution for this cooking wine, quite honestly, the flavor that you get with this cooking wine, I don't know what to substitute it with. Like, what's going to give it this flavor? The flavor of this cooking wine, when you marinate or cook with it, gives it that Chinese restaurant flavor. So you could maybe do white wine, white cooking wine, but it's really not going to give you the flavor that you want with this. So you might omit it if you don't have it. I'm going to be adding some white pepper, soy sauce, onion powder, and garlic powder. And I'm going to marinate this. I'm also going to add a little bit of baking soda. Some of you in the comment section said I should also add some egg white. I typically just do baking soda, but egg white also is a great way to add that velvety texture to your stir fry. So maybe I'll do that today. So here is how I cut my chicken. I just cut it into thin, like 1.5 to 2 inch slices. It's really up to you how you want to slice it. So I'm going to go in with some onion powder. I'd say like a 1/2 teaspoon to a full teaspoon. Granulated garlic powder, like a 1/2 teaspoon. A 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Well, you know what? 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Gonna go in with, let's say like a tablespoon. 2 tablespoons of the cooking wine, and I'm gonna go with 1 tablespoon of the soy sauce. So let's do this. So the egg white is going in. Let's see, I gotta be careful with this. And you just separate it just like that. You can save that yolk for later. I'm also gonna add some cornstarch. This just adds to the texture, like a tablespoon. Baking soda. I'll go with a teaspoon of this because I'm using 2 pounds of chicken. Clean hands, and you're going to massage and coat and mix everything together. And then I'm going to marinate this. You'll want to marinate this for at least 30 minutes. I'm going for about an hour because I have some other things to do. Oh, it smells great already, by the way. Okay, I'm just going to cover this with cling film and put it in my refrigerator to marinate. So here I have broccoli, some fresh broccoli, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to test out this hack. So I have water boiling in my, and you just put like the whole broccoli in there and let that, you want to let that cook briefly and then shock it in cold water. But keeping it together on the stem makes it easier to take it out of your water. So I'm gonna only let this cook for like a minute, not even, maybe 45 seconds, and then I'll do the second one that I have. Okay, cold water. And then this should be done. So that's it. And then once you cool it off, you can cut it away from the stem. Right into the cold water. And it stops the cooking process. Okay, I'm gonna go for the second one. And same water. This one's a smaller one. I don't know, I like this. I think it's very convenient. So I'm gonna move this aside, get more cold water for the second one. Okay, so these are both parboiled and shocked in cold water. Take your kitchen shears and just cut away the broccoli florets from the stem. So I kind of like that hack. I saw that going around on social media. It definitely works for me today. So I'm gonna cut away my broccoli here from the stem. And you can cut it into smaller pieces once you get it away from the thick stem. So here's the broccoli, and I only used maybe 1.5 of the 2 portions of broccoli that I had. The amount is up to you. At least 1 head or crown of broccoli works, the florets from that. My chicken has marinated for an hour, and I want to set it here on the counter to take the chill off. I'm also going to be using some minced garlic that I have here and some ginger paste. It's oxidized, but that's why it's that color. But fresh ginger works, like a teaspoon. Okay, so now let's work on the sauce. So here in a 2-cup, this is a 2-cup measure, I'm going to add 1 cup of chicken broth. I mixed warm water with 1.5 teaspoons of chicken bouillon powder, or use your favorite chicken broth that you have at home. It's going in. Be adding hoisin sauce. I think like 2 tablespoons works for this. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, regular soy sauce. Some people call it light soy sauce. And I'm also going to add just maybe a teaspoon of dark soy sauce. This will give it a nice dark rich color. A tablespoon of the Shaoxing cooking wine. I'm going to be adding, this is to taste, the sugar. I'll go with 1, I'll do like 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now to make this thick, you could separately make a cornstarch slurry, but this is cool. It's not hot. The broth was not hot. So in cold or cool liquid, you'll want to add a tablespoon. I'm going to do like 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and give everything a mix. This is going to be the sauce for the chicken stir fry. And just give it a really good mix. You'll want to use a wok if you have one. I'm using this preheated wok style pan. For those of you that are going to ask me, I purchased this from my Korean grocery store and I flipped it over on the bottom. It's in Korean. I don't see a brand name on it. But yeah, that's where I got this pan for those of you that are going to ask. But a wok or a deep pan that can handle heat, high heat works. I'm going to go in to make the ginger aromatic. Add the chicken. I would have had the garlic, but it was very hot. So I'll start with the chicken and toss in the garlic. And you're going to want to cook and sear the chicken. Things are going to go quick. And I'm going to do things like a one-pan meal. I'm not going to take the chicken out. I'm going to let it sear and cook. And I think now I can kind of move it around. So the chicken at this point, I went ahead and switched out my cooking utensil here. I'm going to add the garlic. I think that's safe. The pan is not super scorching hot. I don't want to burn that. And now I've chopped into large chunks 1 medium onion. That's going to go in. There we go. And I'm going to let this go for another minute. Now for the broccoli. Go in. Give that a quick toss. Now I'm going to give this a really good mix because it does have the cornstarch in there. Essentially, this is your sauce plus cornstarch slurry to thicken everything, and pour it right into your pan. Now you're going to coat and combine everything, and it'll thicken within like 30 seconds. You see it here, and as it simmers, it thickens because of the cornstarch. And you're just going to coat your stir fry. And once it's coated and thickened, you can already tell it's doing wonderful things. And that's it. This is my chicken and broccoli stir fry. And the sauce is so flavorful. Okay, I'm going to shut off the heat because look at how messy this is. That's okay. Dinner's going to be good. And it's done. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Chicken and broccoli stir fry is ready. Hello everybody. So today I'm going to recreate Taco Bell tacos at home. I don't actually have a Taco Bell close to where I live, so when I do pick up crunchy tacos, they're not so crunchy when I get home. So this is something I do for my family when they want crunchy tacos from Taco Bell. I just make them at home. They stay crunchy. They're straight from my stove to the dinner table. Super easy to make. And a lot of the ingredients, fortunately, I can find at my local grocery store. So that's the easy part. Here we go. Okay, so here's the easy part of the recipe, one of them, many. I'm using Taco Bell Original Taco Seasoning Mix. They sell this at my grocery store, which really helps out in my situation. And I'm just going to follow the instructions on the back. Brown the meat, add the seasonings, add water, let it cook for about 10 minutes, stirring it, and it's done. So I'm gonna turn on the heat. And then add a pound of lean ground beef to my pan. There we go. I'm gonna break it apart. A lot of people like to add like extra seasoning into the mix. You can totally do that. And I know a lot of people like to break apart the meat before they add it to the pan. It'll do what it needs to do. It's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna preheat the oven. Let's do bake, because I'm gonna toast those taco shells that I purchased from the grocery store. Okay, so this is what I'm going with today. I'm going with the nacho cheese flavored taco shells and just the regular. And these are like the stand-in stuff, which, you know, stay upright. But yeah, this is what I'm gonna go with for the taco shells. Okay, so I have them. I actually like these the best. The Dori Loco style, the Dorito cheesy nacho cheese shells. So I have these on my baking sheets, and I'm going to just cook them to the package instructions, 325 for about, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes, I believe. And then these will be ready. Back to the ground beef. All right, so now I'm gonna add the taco seasoning. And like I said, if you can't find the specific Taco Bell one, just go with what you got. You can even create your own taco seasoning. I have videos where I just make my own. I also did a Taco Bell Crunch Wrap video once. I'll link that below, so you can check out how I did those. I know the Taco Bell Mexican pizza videos are super popular. I might do that at some point. I know I'm kind of late to that game, but it is what it is. Now I'm going in with my 3/4 cup of water. I'm just going to bring that to a simmer, mix it around, let it cook for another 10 minutes, and then it's done. Yay! Okay, so everything's done, and I already prepped my toppings with the shredded lettuce, tomato, my cheese. I have some sour cream for those that want sour cream, you know, to make it like the supreme taco. Here's the ground beef that's done, and my toasted taco shells. So I'm gonna put all this together, and what's really gonna make this the Taco Bell style is the hot sauce. I found this at my grocery store. Again, you don't have to just buy specifically Taco Bell stuff. By the way, they are not sponsoring my video. But you can use, you know, Cholula, Tapatio, whatever hot sauce you like. Okay, let's put these together. I'm gonna try this one with the ground beef. With this, if I'm kind of chinchy on the ground beef, I could probably get like a dozen of these. There we go. And then we go, let's see, shredded lettuce going everywhere. We got the cheese, boom. Let's do the little, okay, I'm failing at this miserably, but the the tomato. And then, like I said, if you want to go supreme, just do a little boop, dollop of the sour cream. Okay, and that's the taco. Then you just let everybody add their own hot sauce. So good. Crunchy tacos at home. Today I'm making an easy chicken and rice soup. This is gonna be good. To start, I'm going to prep my ingredients. Here I'm chopping half of a small onion, 1 celery stick. I'm also going to slice and chop fresh carrot, 3 cloves of fresh garlic minced, and 1 sprig of fresh thyme. You could use dried thyme in this. I'm also going to prep some chicken. You could use pre-cooked chicken to make this even easier, but I'm adding garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper to about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I'm going to pre-rinse in cold water 1 cup of long grain rice. And for the liquid, you could use homemade broth or stock with this. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of chicken bouillon powder to 4 cups of water. Give it a mix, and this is going to be my broth. I'm also going to add an extra cup of water into the pot. Into my pot, I'm going to add 1 or 2 tablespoons of cooking oil, and I'm going to start sauteing and cooking my chicken. I'm also going to add the onion and carrot, and start to cook and saute. Next, I'm adding the celery and the garlic. Now I'm just going to saute and cook everything through. Today I woke up and had a sore throat and just feeling under the weather. Now typically I opt for chicken caldo, which is a Mexican style chicken soup, and I will link my recipe video below, but chicken and rice is just easier and quicker to cook, so that's what I went with. At this point my chicken is sauteed, so I'm going to add the rice, and I'm just going to give it a quick mix and combine with the rest of the ingredients in the pot. I'm going to add the fresh thyme and all of my broth, including 1 extra cup of water. This makes 5 cups of liquid into the pot. I'm going to add cracked black pepper and a pinch of salt and just give that a mix. Once this is done, I'll taste it for salt and adjust it to my preference, and I suggest you do the same. Taste the soup for salt. I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and once it starts to boil like this, I'm going to lower the heat and let it gently cook and boil for about 18 to 20 minutes. Another thing that I like to do when I have a sore throat is to make hot lemon tea. This is kind of a tea preserve that I keep in my refrigerator year-round, and I will link the recipe video on how I made this, but this really does help to soothe when I have a sore throat. And today, I definitely have a sore throat, and in order to take care of my family, I have to take care of myself first. So that's what I'm going to do. It has been around 15 minutes, and I think this is done. Now, if you like more broth to this, you can definitely add an extra cup of water and adjust the salt, but this is perfect, and this is going to help. So I'm going to remove the sprig of thyme, or what's left of it, and then I'm going to taste this for salt. I'm just going to give this a mix, and then it's ready to serve. So let's go over the ingredients for this Fideo de conchas dinner that I'll be making. So I'm going to be using thin slices of beef that I just cut into little cubes. I'll be adding salt. Here's a little bit of diced onion. I have 2 potatoes that I cut into cubes. I grinded up some whole cumin seeds and peppercorn. For the tomato, I'll be using tomato puree that I had in my fridge. This is like a cup. I will be using the little shells, the conchas. I call them conchitas. This is a 7-ounce bag. And I have some cloves of garlic. I'll also be adding some chicken bouillon powder and some salt to taste, and it's gonna be good. Okay, so I have a heavy bottom pot. This is a 6-quart pot, and I am going to brown my meat well. So let's hope it sizzles when I put it in here. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have the meat where I want it, and I want to let you know, the meat's going to go through like this phase where it releases its natural juices. It kind of turns gray. You want to keep going until the juices evaporate and the meat starts to sear and brown. So this is what I'm looking for. Going in with the onion. Let's saute that a little bit. I'm going to go in with my conchas. And this is going to be a process as well. I want these to get color and browning, like a golden brown color to the conchas. You want to make sure to do that because that will keep the firmer texture to the shells. You don't want them to get too bloated, swollen, and like mushy. It'll help to keep the texture when you go to add the liquid. So I'm going to just keep cooking the beef, cooking and sauteing the onions, and browning the conchas. It's going to take another, let's say, 7 minutes or so. Okay, I'm going to add garlic and the potato. Give everything a stir. I'm going to go in with the ground cumin, black peppercorn mix. I'm going to add my tomato puree. Actually, I think these are crushed tomatoes, but tomato puree works. Going in with water. Give that a mix, just a little bit. I want it soupy, so I'm going for 6 cups of water. Going in with a heaping tablespoon of chicken bouillon powder. I'll start with the tablespoon. If I want to add more, I mean, you can add another teaspoon. I might just finish with salt to taste. Give that a mix. Make sure some of the fond is picked up. Okay, so I'm going to cover with the lid. And once, I'll check on it. Once it starts to simmer, I will lower the heat. And then I'm just going to let it gently simmer over a medium heat for about, it'll be about 15 minutes. I'm going to start with my garlic. Actually, I should have chopped my onion. That's okay. Get a little bit of salt. And get it right into my molcajete. Now for my tomato, I used 1 small Roma tomato here. Oh. You'll taste it for salt. I'm going to add a little more salt to this. And this is my simple chipotle salsa for today. Today I'm going to make agua de piña. I found this in my freezer. This is a little over a pound of fresh pineapple with its juices. Okay, so I'm going to add my pineapple first. That's like a half cup of its natural juices. To that, I am going to add some sugar. Start with like a 1/4 cup or 1/3 cup. I'm going to add some water. That's like 1.5 cups to 2 cups. And now I'm going to blend this up. You can strain it. I don't. I like it all in there. I'm gonna add a bunch of ice, some more water, and this is done. Be sure to taste for sugar and add to your preference. I'm gonna make some quesadillas de queso fresco to go along with dinner today. And it's really simple. I'm just gonna warm up my corn tortillas, add some of the queso fresco, fold it, and let it cook until it's crispy on the outside. At this point, you'll want to check your potatoes, season and taste, for salt or seasoning, and it's done. So let's see. My potatoes should be done. I can already feel it. Oh yeah, they're soft. Today, I'm going to show you how I make crock-pot or slow cooker potato soup. I'm starting with a little over 2 pounds of gold potatoes, an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. Here I have a 14.5-ounce can of chicken broth. I'm also going to be using 1 tablespoon of dehydrated chopped onions. You could use 1 small fresh onion. Here I have a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika and a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Some salt and pepper is going to go in, and here I've already peeled and cut my potatoes into chunks, so I'm adding it to a 4-quart crock pot, or this is a 4.5. I'm also going to start with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. If it needs salt later, I'll add it after everything is cooked. So I'm going to add my onions, and here I have my dry seasonings and spices going in, and the ratios of those, you can add more if you like. I'm also going to pour in my can of chicken broth, add the block of cream cheese, and this was sitting on my counter so it's not super cold. I'm also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of cracked black pepper. If you're using already fine ground pepper, then a 1/4 teaspoon works. Cover with a lid and set your slow cooker to high. And I'm going to let this go for about 4 hours on high. If you're doing this on low, it's going to be about 8 hours. Here I have a pound of chopped bacon, and I'm just going to cook this in a cold pan. And actually, in the comment section in other videos, when I cook bacon, someone mentioned to add water first, boil the bacon, then crisp it up and brown it. Apparently that method will help yield more bacon fat, so that's what I'm going to try today. I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of water into my chopped bacon, and then just let that come up to a boil, and it's going to go from this to this, and after it boils and the water evaporates, it goes to this and it starts to fry, and that's when you want to start moving it around and crisping up the bacon. So here my bacon is cooked, and in my opinion, this did yield a lot of bacon fat or grease. So I'm going to reserve this for soft flour tortillas tomorrow. It has been 3.5 hours, so I'm going to check the potatoes to see if they are cooked through. And you'll want them to be fork tender. And I actually like it when you can kind of mash them easily with the fork. That's great. So what I'm going to do now is just take a metal whisk and kind of mash and mix the cream cheese and mix around the potatoes. I like to leave some chunky, and I like to make them kind of smooth and creamy, like a combination of textures, but that is definitely up to you. You can make it all creamy if you like. Okay, so I'm going to cover this back up and let it go for another 20 minutes, and then it's done. For the toppings, I'm going to add shredded cheddar cheese. I have my bacon already cooked and chopped. I will also be garnishing with dried parsley and dried chives. Definitely go with fresh if you've got that, but this is what I'm working with today. And I will be adding some cracked black pepper. Here I have some red pepper flakes, the crushed red pepper flakes. I love that, and sour cream. Now you can definitely add a little bit of sour cream, some of the chopped bacon and cheddar cheese into this soup, but I just like to garnish with it and let everyone add what they like. But you definitely can add it into the crock pot. It's very tasty that way. I also want to mention, if you find the viscosity of the soup to be too thick, you can add a little bit of broth or some whole milk into the mix until you get the right consistency. This is perfect in my opinion. And if you find it too thin, you definitely can add some sour cream and add some of the cheese. That'll help to thicken it up. Now that fall is upon us, I definitely will be making a lot more soups and baking, and I still love to make crock pot dinners. So this is a crock pot one bowl dinner. It's very hearty and filling. But if you want a side salad to get extra greens on the side with your meal, you can do that as well. Today I'm going to show you what I like to do with a box of Jiffy and make it a little better. By the way, follow me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Here we go. Okay, so let me show you what I'm going to do with this box of Jiffy corn muffin mix. By the way, this recipe you totally could make muffins with, but I'm going to make some waffles. So here in a large bowl, I'm going to empty the contents of my box of Jiffy. I'm also going to be adding a half cup of all-purpose flour. Give that a mix and combine well. This also helps with the lumps from the Jiffy. Now I'm going to add 2 large eggs. Next, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and I'm going to be adding 4 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese. This is sharp cheddar cheese. Use what you've got. I'm also going to be adding pickled jalapeno. Now I'm going to add buttermilk. You could also add regular milk, and you want to add milk until the dough sort of is like this thick pancake batter. Ultimately, I used 1 1/4 cup of buttermilk. Here I have a mini waffle maker, and I'm just going to add cooking oil to both sides. This will help when you go to remove the waffle once it's done. Now that my waffle maker is prepped, I'm going to add around 1/4 cup of the batter. It's somewhere between 3 tablespoons to 1/4 cup of the batter per waffle. If you go over 1/4 cup, it'll kind of spill and get messy. So the cook time will vary with waffle makers, but this took a minute or so to cook through, maybe 2 minutes. And once it's done, I'm going to lift the top, and I like to use chopsticks to sort of ease it out of the waffle maker to make sure it doesn't stick. But once it's completely cooked, sticking should not be an issue. And here it is. I'm going to continue making this. This batter will definitely create 12 mini waffles. If you're using a larger waffle maker, then 8 to 10. But it really depends how much you're putting in the waffle maker. So I have a stack of these cheddar jalapeno waffles ready, and I have some leftover chili. I will link the recipe video for this chili in the description below, but this is kind of like a round 2 meal. I'm making lunch for my family, and so I'm going to take 2 of these cheddar jalapeno cornbread waffles, and I'm just going to pour over the chili. You can garnish how you like, and it's a tasty meal. And started with a box of Jiffy, not too bad.